The ship hummed quietly as Kate stood at the observation deck. She watched the stars streak by in long lines of light, her heart beating fast in her chest. This was her first deep space mission as captain of the Earth vessel Starlight, and she felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. The year was 2157. Humanity had been exploring space for nearly a century, but they were still considered newcomers to the galactic community. The older species, those who had been traveling between stars, for thousands of years looked down on humans as primitive and dangerous. Kate had experienced their condescension. Firsthand, her thoughts were interrupted by the soft beep of her communication device. "Captain, we are receiving a distress signal," said the voice of her first officer, Mary. "The signal is coming from the fourth moon of the gas giant." Ahead, Kate straightened her uniform and took a deep breath. "Send the coordinates to the bridge." "I'll be right there." As she walked through the corridors of the Starlight, Kate reviewed what she knew about this sector of space. It was controlled by the Zephyrins, an ancient species known for their advanced technology and their belief that they were superior to all other life forms. The Zephyrins had reluctantly allowed human ships passage through their territory, but made it clear they considered humans barely more than clever animals. The bridge was a hum of activity. When Kate arrived, Mary stood at the command console, her fingers moving quickly over the controls. "What do we know about the distress call?" Kate asked. "It's definitely Zephyrin," Mary replied. "Their ship appears to be damaged. They are requesting immediate assistance." Kate frowned. The Zephyrins asking humans for help? That was unusual. The proud aliens would normally rather drift in space than accept aid from what they considered a lesser species. "Put them on screen," Kate ordered. The main view screen flickered to life, showing the interior of a Zephyrin vessel. The aliens were tall and slender, with skin that shimmered like mother of pearl. Their large eyes were filled with an emotion that Kate recognized despite the species' differences: fear. "This is Captain Iridia of the Zephyrin exploration vessel Lumina," the alien said, her voice translated by the ship's computer. "We have suffered a catastrophic failure in our drive system and our life support is failing. We have 20 crew members on board, including 5 juveniles." Kate nodded, keeping her face neutral. "I am Captain Kate Martinez of the Earth vessel Starlight. We are en route to your location and can offer assistance." The Zephyrin captain seemed to hesitate, her luminescent skin flickering in what Kate had learned was a sign of distress. "We are grateful for your response," Captain Iridia said finally, though it clearly cost her pride to say it. "Our situation is desperate. We'll be there in 20 minutes. Kate assured her. "Prepare your crew for evacuation." After the communication ended, Kate turned to her bridge. "Crew, I know the Zephyrins haven't been the best friends to humanity, but today, they need our help and we're going to give it to them." The rescue operation was more difficult than Kate had anticipated. The Zephyrin ship was venting radiation from its damaged drive core, making it dangerous to approach the ships. Dr. Lauren warned that the radiation levels could be harmful. Even with protective gear, Kate made a decision. She would lead the rescue team herself. "You're the captain," Mary objected. "It's not your job to put yourself at risk." Kate smiled grimly. "The Zephyrins respect hierarchy. If their captain is speaking to me, I need to be the one who goes over there. It's the only way they'll listen." The shuttle bay was quiet as Kate and her team of 4 prepared for the mission. They wore radiation suits that would give them limited protection, remember, Kate told her team. "The Zephyrins are proud. They won't want to appear weak, especially in front of humans. Treat them with respect. No matter how they behave toward you." The short journey to the damaged Zephyrin ship was tense. Kate could see the extent of the damage as they approached. The sleek silver vessel had a gaping hole in its side and was leaking a glowing blue substance into space docking. "Will be tricky," said Lisa, the shuttle pilot. "The Zephyrin ship is rotating." Kate watched as Lisa maneuvered the shuttle with precision. Despite the difficulty, she managed to connect with the Zephyrin airlock on the first attempt. As the airlock cycled, Kate prepared herself for what lay ahead. The air on Zephyrin ships had a different composition than what humans breathed. Their suits would filter it, but it would still smell strange and feel heavy in their lungs. The inner door opened to reveal Captain Iridia waiting with 2 of her crew. The Zephyrin captain was taller than Kate had expected, nearly 7 feet of glimmering alienness. Her expression was hard to read. "Captain Martinez," Iridia said with a slight bow. We did not expect humans. To respond to our distress call, Kate returned the gesture. We received your signal and came to help. That's what we do. The Zephyrin studied her for a moment. We have limited time. Our drive core will breach in approximately 40 minutes. Kate nodded. We'll need to move quickly, then show me you're injured first, and then we'll evacuate in order of need. As they moved through the damaged ship, Kate saw the destruction firsthand. Supporting beams had collapsed and strange equipment lay shattered on the floor. The air was thick with smoke and the walls themselves seemed to pulse with failing energy. The Zephyrin crew watched the humans with a mixture of fear and curiosity. Some had never seen humans up close before. Kate realized they had probably only heard stories about the violent primitive species from Earth. In the medical bay, 5 injured Zephyrins lay on beds that seemed to float above the floor. Their wounds were severe. 2 were juveniles. Their pearlescent skin dulled with pain. Kate's medical officer Diane immediately went to work scanning the injured with her equipment. The injuries are serious, she told Kate, but treatable if we get them to our medical bay soon. Captain Iridia, who had been watching closely, stepped forward. Why? Do you help us? She asked, her voice low. You know how my people speak of yours, you know. We would not do the same for you. Kate met the alien's gaze. Because it's the right thing to do, she said simply. And because maybe next time you'll do the same for someone else. 3 days had passed since the rescue of the Zephyrin crew. Kate sat in the medical bay as Diane checked her vitals. The radiation treatment had been successful, but she still felt weaker than she would have liked. You're healing well, Diane said. Reviewing the scan results another day or two and you can return to full duty. Kate nodded before she could respond. The door to medical bay opened and Captain Iridia ducked through the entrance, her tall form having to bend to fit through the human-sized doorway. Captain Martinez, the Zephyrin said with a formal bow of her head. I hope I'm not interrupting your healing. Not at all, Kate replied, gesturing to a nearby chair designed to accommodate the taller aliens. How are your people settling in? Iridia sat, her movements fluid and graceful. They are well. Your crew has been most accommodating despite the cultural differences. She paused, her skin shimmering slightly. I must confess, I did not expect such treatment from human. Kate smiled slightly. The stories you heard about us were exaggerated. Iridia tilted her head in what Kate had learned was a gesture of acknowledgement, perhaps. Or perhaps we only saw what we expected to see. The Zephyrin leader said, Our records show humans as aggressive, territorial, quick to anger, slow to reason. We categorized your species as primitive and dangerous. And now, Kate asked, now I have witnessed humans risking their lives to save those who had shown them only disdain. Iridia replied, I have seen your doctor work without rest to treat Zephyrin children using techniques she had to develop on the moment. I have watched your crew share their quarters and food with strangers. These are not the actions of a primitive species. Kate shrugged, wincing slightly at the pull of healing skin. Humanity has its flaws. We can be everything your records say and more, but we try to be better than our worst impulses. Iridia was silent for a moment, her large eyes studying Kate with intensity. We have received a transmission from my government, she said. Finally, they are sending a ship to retrieve us. It will arrive in approximately 6 of your days. That's good news, Kate said. Your people must be anxious to return home. Some perhaps, Iridia acknowledged, but others have expressed interest in learning more about humans before we depart, including myself. I have requested permission to establish a cultural exchange. Kate raised her eyebrows in surprise. The Zephyrins had always been one of the most isolationist species in known space. They rarely allowed outsiders into their territory, let alone sought to learn from them. Your government agreed to that. Iridia's skin rippled with what Kate recognized as amusement. They were reluctant, but the data cores you helped save contained research valuable enough to overcome their reservations. Additionally, I included the medical data showing how your doctor saved our juveniles using techniques unknown to our medical science. Kate smiled. Well, I think a cultural exchange sounds like an excellent idea. Iridia stood, her tall form seeming to unfold. If you are amenable, I would like to begin by inviting you to dine with me this evening in the manner of my people. It is a way we show respect. I would be honored, Kate replied. That evening, Kate found herself in one of the cargo bays that had been transformed by the Zephyrins into a ceremonial dining space. Strange glowing orbs floated near the ceiling, casting soft light over the low cushions arranged in a circle. Iridia welcomed Kate and guided her to a cushion positioned slightly higher than the others around the circle. Kate recognized this as a position of honor in Zephyrin. Custom 5 other Zephyrins joined them, including the engineer whose data cores Kate had helped save, and 2 of the recovered juveniles. This is a Narai feast, Iridia explained as small bowls of food were placed before each of them. It is traditionally shared with those who have performed great services for our people. Kate looked at the foods before. Some were strange crystalline structures in vibrant colors. Others appeared to be liquids that moved on their own. Do not concern yourself, Iridia said, noticing Kate's hesitation. Your doctor has confirmed these foods are compatible with human physiology. Kate nodded and followed Iridia's example, taking a small bite of a blue crystal. It dissolved on her tongue with a flavor reminiscent of honey and mint. The meal progressed with formal exchanges between the participants. Kate learned that Zephyrin dining was as much about conversation as it was about food. Each course was accompanied by questions and observations. Why did you become a starship captain? One of the juveniles asked Kate. Her voice musical and curious, Kate considered the question. Human children often asked her the same thing to explore. She replied to see new worlds, meet new people, learn new things. The universe is vast and filled with wonders. I wanted to be part of discovering them. The juvenile tilted her head, but space is dangerous. Many die exploring. Kate nodded. That's true, but everything worth doing carries some risk. The question is whether the benefit outweighs the danger. The Zephyrins exchanged glances at this. Kate had learned that their culture placed immense value on safety and certainty. Risk-taking was not encouraged. Your species embraces risk, Iridia observed. We try to minimize unnecessary danger, Kate clarified. But yes, humans often believe that progress requires stepping into the unknown, even when it's frightening. The engineer who had been quietly observing spoke up. You saved our data cores at great personal risk. Was the knowledge of strangers worth your life? Kate met the engineers. Gay's knowledge belongs to everyone. She said it doesn't matter whose it is. If it's lost, we're all poorer for it. This concept seemed to surprise the Zephyrins. They conferred among themselves in their own language, which Kate's translator couldn't fully interpret. A fascinating perspective. Iridia said finally, in many ways contrary to how we have organized our society. As the meal continued, Kate found herself explaining human concepts that the Zephyrins found puzzling: cooperation between competing nations, the value of diverse opinions, the human drive to explore simply for the sake of discovery. In turn, she learned about Zephyrin society, their long lives spanning centuries, their deep connection to mathematical patterns, their belief that the universe operated according to principles that could be fully understood if studied long enough. After the final course was served, Iridia raised a crystal goblet filled with a shimmering liquid. In the tradition of my people, I offer a toast, she said to Captain Kate Martinez, who has shown us that wisdom can be found in unexpected places and that true strength lies not in isolation but in connection. The Zephyrins raised their goblets and Kate did the same, feeling a sense of accomplishment that went beyond the rescue mission. This was why humanity had ventured into space, not just to explore but to build bridges between different ways of thinking and being. As the evening drew to a close, Iridia walked Kate to the cargo bay door. Our peoples have much to learn from each other. The Zephyrin captain said, I believe this incident, though it began in crisis, may mark the beginning of a new chapter in relations between humans and Zephyrans. Kate smiled. I hope so, she replied. Sometimes the universe brings us exactly what we need, even if it's not what we expected. Iridia's skin shimmered with what Kate now recognized as genuine warmth. Indeed, Captain Martinez, that is a wisdom both our peoples can embrace. The alarm blared through the ship as Kate and her team worked to evacuate the injured Zephyrins. The countdown to core breach was now at 30 minutes, and they still had 15 crew members to transport. We need to move faster, Kate said to Captain. Iridia, your ship won't last much longer. The Zephyrin leader nodded, her luminescent skin pulsing with stress. My engineers are trying to stabilize the core, but the damage is too severe. Kate activated her communicator. Mary, send over the second shuttle. We need to evacuate more people at once. Understood, Captain. Mary's voice replied. Shuttle 2 is launching now. Ida 3 minutes, Kate turned to Diane. How are the injured? Stable for now? Diane answered. But that juvenile needs immediate attention. Her body is reacting badly to the radiation. Captain Iridia moved closer, her tall form looming over the humans. Why do you prioritize the juvenile? She asked, her voice curious, rather than accusatory. Our customs would save the most valuable crew members. First those with the most knowledge. Kate looked up at the alien. Because children represent the future. She said simply, they haven't had their chance at life. Yet where I'm from, we protect them first? Always. The Zephyrin was silent for a moment, considering. This sentiment common among humans, universal. Kate replied, now let's get the rest of your people out of here. The evacuation continued as both shuttles worked to transport the Zephyrin crew to the Starlight. Some of the aliens were reluctant to board human vessels, their cultural programming making them hesitate. But the reality of their situation left them little choice. Kate remained on the damaged ship, helping the last group of Zephyrins gather what few belongings they could take. The ship's systems were failing around them, lights flickering and strange creaking sounds echoing through the corridors. Captain, one of the Zephyrin engineers, approached Kate. Our data cores contain centuries of scientific research. She said we cannot leave them behind. Kate frowned, checking the time. 15 minutes until core breach. Where are they? The engineer led Kate and 2 of her team members to a sealed room near the center of the ship. Inside, crystalline structures glowed with stored information. Can they be removed? Kate asked. The engineer nodded, but they are heavy and fragile. We would need to transport them carefully. Kate made a quick decision. Well, take as many as we can carry, she said, turning to her team members. Take 1 each and move carefully. Back to the shuttle. The crystalline data cores were indeed heavy even in the slightly lower gravity of the Zephyrin ship. Kate strained under the weight of hers as they carefully made their way back through the damaged corridors. Suddenly the ship lurched, throwing them against the walls. The data core in Kate's arm slipped, but she managed to catch it before it hit the floor. The core is becoming unstable. The engineer said, her voice tight with fear. We may have only minutes. Not 15, Kate tapped her communicator. Mary's situation report. The radiation levels are spiking, Captain. Mary's voice came back. We need to get you all out. Now Kate looked at her team and the remaining Zephyrins. Run, she ordered. They moved as quickly as they could through the failing ship. Behind them, panels exploded in showers of sparks and sections of ceiling collapsed. Kate stayed at the rear, making sure no one was left behind. The shuttle came into view at the end of a long corridor, its door open and waiting. Just as they approached the final stretch, a massive support beam crashed down, blocking the path for the last 2. Zephyrins. Kate didn't hesitate. She passed her data core to one of her team members and rushed to the fallen beam. It was too heavy to lift, but she could see a small gap underneath. Crawl through, she shouted to the trapped Zephyrins now. The aliens hesitated, looking at the small space with doubt. Trust me, Kate insisted. There's no time. The first Zephyrin dropped to the floor and squeezed. Through the gap, the second followed, but became stuck halfway. Her wider shoulders caught in the narrow space. Kate could feel the heat building as the ship's systems continued to fail. The radiation warning on her suit was blinking red. They had minutes, perhaps seconds. I'm going to pull you through, Kate told the trapped Zephyrin. This will hurt, but it's better than dying here. Kate grabbed the alien's arms and pulled with all her strength. The Zephyrin gasped in pain as her shoulders scraped against the rough edges of the beam, but she came free. They stumbled toward the shuttle, the last to board as the door closed behind them. Get us out of here, Kate ordered Lisa at the controls. The shuttle detached from the dying ship and accelerated away behind them. The Zephyrin vessel shuddered, its sleek hull bulging outward as the core containment failed. The explosion lit up space like a newborn star. The shuttle's sensors overloaded momentarily, and the small craft shook violently as the shockwave hit. Themis, everyone okay? Kate asked, looking around at the mixture of humans and Zephyrins crowded into the shuttle. The alien engineer who had led them to the data cores was staring at Kate with an expression she couldn't read. Your suit is damaged, the Zephyrin said, pointing to a tear in the fabric near Kate's shoulder. You've been exposed to radiation. Kate looked down at the tear. She hadn't felt it happen, probably during the rush to free the trapped Zephyrin. Now that she was aware of it, she could Feel the burning sensation where the radiation had touched her skin well. Fix that when we get back to the starlight, she said dismissively. How are the data core? All 4 are intact? The engineer replied, then hesitated before adding, You risked your life to save our knowledge and our people. Or before Kate could answer, the shuttle docked with the Starlight medical teams were waiting. As the door opened, Diane immediately noticed Kate's damaged suit and rushed forward with a scanner. You've got radiation poisoning. Diane said, her face grim. We need to get you to medical. Now Kate shook her head first. Make sure all the Zephyrins are settled and being treated, especially the juveniles. Then you can deal with me, Captain Iridia, who had arrived. With the first shuttle stood nearby, watching this exchange, she stepped forward, her tall form moving with natural grace. Your captain is injured because she chose to remain until all my people were safe, she said, addressing the human crew. This is not behavior we expected from humans. Diane looked up from her scanner. Our captain always puts others first, she said. It's not just Kate, it's what humans do. Captain Iridia turned to Kate. When you are recovered, I would speak with you, she said. I believe there is much about humans that my people do not understand. Kate nodded, fighting against the weakness that was beginning to spread through her body. I look forward to that conversation, she said. But first, I think I need that medical attention. As Diane and another medical officer helped Kate toward the medical bay. She looked back at the Zephyrins gathered in the shuttle bay, their luminescent skin glowing under the ship's lights. They were watching her with new eyes. She realized not with condescension, but with something that looked remarkably like respect. The following days aboard the Starlight were filled with unprecedented cooperation between the human crew and their Zephyrin guests. Kate watched with pride as her people worked alongside the aliens, exchanging knowledge and techniques. Mary stood beside Kate on the bridge as they observed a group of engineers from both species working together to improve the Starlight sensor array. I never thought I'd see this, Kate Mary commented. The Zephyrins are actually asking us for input. Kate nodded. It's amazing what can happen when we put aside preconceptions. The ship-wide communication system activated Captain Martinez to Conference Room 3. Urgent. Kate exchanged a concerned glance with Mary. What now? When they arrived at the conference room, they found Diane with several Zephyrins gathered around a display showing strange energy readings. What's happening? Kate asked. It's the children. Diane explained. The Zephyrin juveniles are showing unusual neural patterns. One of the Zephyrin medical specialists stepped forward. We believe they are developing a telepathic bond with your crew. Captain, this is unprecedented. Kate looked at the readings, not understanding the technical details, but recognizing the concern in both the human and alien faces. What does this mean? The Zephyrin specialist named Alara touched the display, highlighting several patterns. Our juveniles normally only bond with their own kind. It is how they learn and develop. But something about human neural activity seems compatible, perhaps even complementary to their own. And is this dangerous? Kate asked. We do not know, Alara admitted with honesty. Such a thing has never been documented before. Diane stepped closer to Kate. The Zephyrin children, who are most severely injured, are the ones showing the strongest connection specifically to the humans who helped rescue them. It's as if the stress of the situation created a bridge between their minds. One of the juveniles, a female named Lyra, who had been among the injured, entered the room, her pearlescent skin glowing brightly with excitement. I can feel them, she said, her voice filled with wonder. Human emotions are so vivid, so immediate, they don't hide anything. Kate knelt to bring herself to the young aliens. Eye level. What exactly can you feel, Lyra? The juvenile tilted her head. Everything, your compassion, your curiosity, your fear, your hope, it's like music. But made of feelings. The adult Zephyrins looked alarmed. Our people spend decades learning to control and compartmentalize our mental energies. Ilara explained to Kate the raw emotional nature of human consciousness could overwhelm young minds, but Lyra seemed anything but overwhelmed. She moved around the room, touching the display screens with evident delight. I can understand this now, she said, looking at a complex engineering diagram. It's like the knowledge flows through the connection. Kate looked to Diane. Is this hurting them? Diane shook her head. All their vitals are normal. If anything, they're showing increased brain activity in regions associated with learning and development. Alara and the other adult Zephyrins conferred among themselves, their skin flickering rapidly in patterns Kate now recognized as indicating intense debate. Finally, Iridia arrived, having been summoned by her medical team. "What is happening here?" Iridia demanded. Kate explained the situation as the Zephyrin captain listened with growing concern. "This is unprecedented," Iridia said, her tone grave. "Our juveniles' mental development follows strict patterns established over millennia of evolution. This human influence could alter their developmental trajectory permanently. But is it harmful?" Kate asked. "That seems like the most important question," Iridia hesitated. "In our culture, we value consistency, predictability. We know what a Zephyrin mind should be, what it should become. These children may develop differently because of this connection layer." Her approached her captain with surprising boldness for a juvenile. "But different doesn't mean worse," she said. "I can learn faster now. I understand things that confused me before." The debate continued throughout the day as more tests were conducted. The adult Zephyrins were clearly torn between their cultural preference for established patterns and the undeniable evidence that the human connection was accelerating their children's mental development. Kate found Iridia alone later that evening, staring out at the stars from the observation deck. "Difficult decisions," Iridia, Kate said softly. Coming to stand beside the tall alien, Iridia nodded, her skin dimmed with what Kate now recognized as sadness. "We have always protected our young from outside influences," she said. "We believed it was for their own good, that our way was best." Kate was quiet for a moment. "Sometimes protection can limit growth," she suggested gently. Iridia turned to her. "When your ancestors first ventured beyond your planet, did they know what they would find?" "No," Kate answered. "They were terrified, but excited too. They knew there were risks, but they believed the journey was worth it." The Zephyrin captain was silent for a long moment. "Our ship will arrive tomorrow," she said finally. "I must decide whether to report this connection to my government." "And if you do," Kate asked, "they will likely order the juveniles to be isolated from humans and subjected to mental reconditioning to remove the influence," Iridia admitted. "That seems extreme," Kate said carefully. Iridia turned to fully face Kate. "My people fear change, Captain. We have survived for thousands of years by maintaining stability, tradition, consistency. We believe it keeps us safe." Kate gestured to the stars outside the window. "The universe isn't stable, though it's constantly changing, evolving. Adapting may be the connection between our species is part of that evolution." The next morning, Kate was called to the shuttle bay where the Zephyrin crew had gathered their few possessions, preparing for the arrival of their ship. Iridia approached. "Kate," with formal dignity, "I have made my decision," she announced. "I will not report the telepathic connection to my government." Kate raised her eyebrows in surprise. "That's a significant decision." The Zephyrin captain nodded. "These juveniles have been changed by their contact with humans, but I have watched them closely. They are not harmed, merely different, and perhaps that difference will benefit both our peoples." "What will you tell your government?" Kate asked. "That we are establishing a more permanent cultural exchange," Iridia replied. "I will request that these juveniles and willing adults remain with your ship for an extended period to continue what we have begun." "Here," Kate smiled broadly. "That's wonderful news. The Starlight would be honored to host your people." Iridia held up a hand. "There is more I would ask, that when possible, your ship escort us to Zephyrin Central Command. I wish to present our findings in person with the juveniles as evidence. The impact may be greater if our leaders can see for themselves what is possible between our species." Kate nodded. "Of course, once we complete our current mission, we can adjust our course later that day." The Zephyrin rescue vessel arrived, a massive ship that dwarfed the Starlight, its sleek, crystalline surface reflecting the stars as it moved into position. Most of the adult Zephyrins transferred to their vessel, but Iridia and 5 others, including Alara and all the juveniles, remained on the Starlight as the 2 ships prepared to go their separate ways. Iridia joined Kate on the bridge. "Our paths diverge for now, Captain, but they will cross again soon," the Zephyrin said. Kate nodded. "I look forward to it," she replied. "This is just the beginning, isn't it?" Iridia looked around the bridge, at the humans working at their stations, their emotions visible on their faces, their movements quick and decisive, so different from her own people, yet somehow complementary. "Yes," she agreed. "It is just the beginning." And for the first time in centuries, I cannot predict what comes next. Kate smiled. That's what makes it an adventure. The Zephyrin captain's skin glittered with amusement. Perhaps your human wisdom has some merit after all. She conceded. 1 month later, the Starlight approached the massive space station that served as the headquarters for the Zephyrin High Council. Kate stood on the bridge, feeling a mix of excitement and apprehension. This was the first time a human vessel had been invited so deep into Zephyrin territory. Captain, we are receiving docking instructions from the station. Mary reported, her voice betraying her own nervousness. Proceed as directed. Kate replied. She turned to where Iridea stood, tall and regal in her formal attire. Are you ready for this? The Zephyrin captain nodded, though her skin flickered with subtle patterns of anxiety. I have prepared my presentation, but I cannot predict how the council will respond to what we have discovered. Nearby, Lyra and the other Zephyrin juveniles waited with barely contained excitement. Their telepathic abilities had continued to develop over the past weeks. Not only could they sense human emotions, they had begun sharing knowledge directly mind to mind with their human counterparts. Diane had monitored the process, carefully documenting every development. The scientific implications were enormous. The juveniles were learning at an accelerated rate, absorbing information that would normally take years to master. The docking procedure went smoothly, the massive station swallowing the Starlight in its cavernous bay. As the ship secured itself to the dock, Kate addressed her crew. This is a historic moment. She said, the first official diplomatic mission between humans and Zephyrins inside their territory. Remember that everything we do will be scrutinized. Treat our hosts with respect but also with confidence. We are here as equals, not supplicants. The delegation that would attend the council meeting consisted of Kate, Mary, Diane, and 3 other crew members alongside Iridea, Lara, and the Zephyrin juveniles as they disembarked from the Starlight. Kate was struck by the scale of the Zephyrin architecture. Everything was built to accommodate beings. Nearly 7 feet tall, the ceilings soared overhead and doorways yawned like caverns. A group of Zephyrins waited to escort them. Their skin patterns formal and reserved. Kate could sense their curiosity. Despite their controlled expressions, humans were rarely seen here and never in an official capacity. The journey through the station was like walking through a crystal forest. Structures that appeared solid from one angle revealed themselves to be transparent from another. Light played through the architecture, creating patterns that seemed to contain mathematical meaning. Finally, they arrived at the council chamber, a vast circular room with 7 elevated platforms where the Zephyrin elders sat, their ancient forms glowing with internal light that spoke of centuries of life experience. Iridea stepped forward and began the formal greetings in the Zephyrin language. Kate recognized enough words to follow along. The captain was introducing her crew, explaining their role in the rescue operation and what had happened since. One of the council elders, the oldest by the intensity of her glow, raised a hand to interrupt. Why have you brought humans before the council? Iridea, this is unprecedented. Iridea stood tall, her posture respectful. But unwavering, honored elders, I bring news of a discovery that may change our understanding of interspecies relations. She gestured to Lyra and the other juveniles who stepped forward. The council members shifted their positions, an indication of surprise at seeing younglings in such a formal setting. These juveniles have developed telepathic connections with humans, Iridea announced. The council chamber erupted in flickering light patterns as the elders communicated among themselves. Kate didn't need a translator to understand their alarm. Impossible, one elder declared. Juveniles can only bond with other Zephyrins. This is basic biology. In response, Lyra stepped forward and spoke directly to the council with unusual boldness for one. So young, yet it has happened, honored ones, she said. I can demonstrate if you will permit it. The council fell silent. Then the eldest nodded slowly. Approach, young one. Lyra walked to the center of the chamber and gestured for Diane to join her. The human doctor stepped forward with a reassuring smile. The juvenile Zephyrin placed her slender hand against Diane's forehead and closed her large eyes. After a moment, Diane's expression changed to one of wonder. I can see it. Diane whispered equations, mathematical concepts, the structure of Zephyrin physiology. It's like having access to a living library, Lyra. Return to the council. What the human sees is my understanding of cellular regeneration theory, which I learned yesterday from Dr. Diane. She's been teaching me human medicine, and I've been sharing Zephyrin biological knowledge. The eldest council member descended from her platform, approaching the pair with careful steps. She placed her ancient hand on Lyra's head, her skin glowing intensely as she verified what the juvenile claimed it is true. The elder announced, her voice carrying a note of astonishment. The juvenile has formed a complete telepathic bond with the human and has exchanged knowledge impossible by traditional means. The council erupted again, this time with more urgent communication patterns. Kate could see some members appeared disturbed while others seemed intrigued. Iridia stepped forward again. Honored elders, this discovery has profound implications. For both our species, the human capacity for emotional openness and creative thinking complements our own structured, logical approach to knowledge. She gestured to the data collected by both Diane and Ilara. Our research indicates that the juveniles, who have bonded with humans, are developing mental abilities at twice the normal rate, without any detrimental effects. Their emotional stability remains within acceptable parameters, while their problem-solving abilities have increased dramatically. Eldest council member returned to her platform. What do you propose, Iridia? This situation has no precedent. Iridia stood straighter. I propose a formal exchange program. A selected group of Zephyrin juveniles and human children would be raised together. Taught by educators from both species, we would create a new generation of thinkers who understand both cultures, both approaches to knowledge. Kate watched the council members carefully, trying to gauge their reactions. The tension in the room was palpable. This proposal went against thousands of years of Zephyrin isolation and tradition. Finally, one of the younger council members spoke. Are we to abandon our ways simply because humans have introduced chaos into our carefully structured development? Patterns. Kate stepped forward before Iridia could respond with, Respect, counselor, it's not chaos, it's diversity. She said, If I may speak. The eldest nodded. Proceed. Human. Kate took a deep breath. We humans have learned that our greatest advances come not from consistency, but from the unexpected connection, the surprising insight, the collision of different perspectives. When we work alone, we achieve steady progress, but when we collaborate across boundaries, we make leaps. She gestured to the juveniles. Our species are different, yes, but perhaps complementary, like two parts of a greater whole. Your people excel at structure, pattern, stability, while mine embrace change, adaptation, and emotional insight. Neither approach is complete on its own, but together. The council conferred among themselves, their skin patterns shifting rapidly in complex debates that lasted nearly an hour. Kate and her crew waited patiently, knowing that for a long-lived species like the Zephyrins, this was actually a swift deliberation. Finally, the eldest spoke again. Captain Martinez of Earth, your words have wisdom, though they challenge our most fundamental beliefs. She turned to Iridia. We will permit a limited exchange program, 5 juveniles and 5 human children to begin. The duration will be 1 Zephyrin year, approximately 3 of your Earth years. We will evaluate the results before considering expansion. Kate felt a surge of triumph, though she kept her expression measured. Thank you, honored council. This is a historic opportunity. As they left the council chamber, Iridia turned to Kate, her skin glowing with patterns Kate had never seen before. Patterns of hope. This is just the beginning, she said softly. Kate nodded and looked at Lyra, who was walking ahead with Diane, talking animatedly about some new concept she had discovered. The young Zephyrin moved differently than the adults, her gestures more human, more expressive, yet still graceful and alien. Yes, Kate agreed, it's just the beginning of something extraordinary. On the journey back to the starlight, Kate found herself standing at a viewport, gazing out at the stars, thinking about the children who would be the first to participate in this exchange. Human children meeting alien minds, growing up between worlds. What would they become, these bridge builders, these boundary crossers? What new wisdom might emerge from the blending of such different ways of seeing the universe? Mary joined her at the window. Quite a day, Captain, she said. We've made history. Kate smiled. It's more than history, she replied. It's the future looking back at us. As the starlight prepared to depart from the Zephyrin station, carrying the news of the historic agreement back to Earth, Kate thought about Captain Iridius. Words from weeks ago. Sometimes the universe brings us exactly what we need. Even if it's not what we expected. Humans and Zephyrins, two species who had viewed each other with suspicion and misunderstanding, now linked by an unexpected connection. One that had begun with a simple act of compassion. A distress call answered, a hand extended in help. That was humanity at its best. Kate thought not conquest, not dominance, but connection. Understanding, the willingness to step into the unknown and find, not enemies but new friends, new family among the stars.